Hey, what's up? My name's Gavin. I'm from Knitted City. Today, I'm going to be bringing our landscape over from Milano, where you saw it last, into Unreal Engine. Alright, first things first, we got some planning to do. We have two main ways that we can create the landscape. We have Unreal Sculpting Toolset, which is a bit like working with clay, or we can do a node-based approach, which is going to be great for this project because it allows you flexibility where if you don't know exactly where the hills are going to go, or if the landscape is going to flatten out under the sidewalk, or if there's going to be a lip somewhere, you can add that after the fact, and it's non-destructive. Alright, first things first, in InverGen, we're picking a preset called Valley L1. This program gives you a couple different presets. It's kind of nice just to kickstart whatever you're doing. Alright, the next thing we got to do is just lower the walls of the preset, because it's kind of high. Alright, next thing after that is we are bypassing the whole river node setup, and we're viewing a node kind of in the middle of the sequence, just so we can kind of see what's going on a little better. Alright, next thing is we are deleting a node called Filter Crease, just to make our landscape smoother, and we're shrinking our noise way down, just to get more of that rolling fields type look. And now the final steps that we have to do before we go onto Unreal are we got to make a circular mask on the landscape. This is going to drive another noise, and it's effectively going to just raise the edges of the map, so you can't look out and see void, and there will be a dedicated play area for people and houses and sidewalks and stuff. We are ready to import our landscape into Unreal as a height map. We're going to be importing it to Unreal's landscape, which is a different type of object. It's gonna allow us to use several things inside Unreal, namely Unreal's river body actor, which is gonna mesh the landscape in real time to just automatically work with a spline that we're gonna make to guide this river along. Here I am just editing some values that change how intense the curvature is away from the river. The last thing to really do now that we've got the landscape dialed in is to match the shape of the spline to what our drawings are of what the landscape should look like. But now that I'm kind of doing this, I'm kind of realizing that Unreal Water, the river body system, just might not be the way. So I'm thinking about taking it back to InverGen, and let's make a custom curve setup to draw out this river system. Over in Houdini this time, we got kind of a drawing of our area. It's not great, but it's just enough to draw some curves off of, and I'm putting it into Cops, just making a black and white image. We're exporting it from Houdini and re-importing it into GeoGen. Now if we go back and view that node kind of in the middle of our setup for our filter sediment, if we view it before that, then we should get a super steep drop off, right where the water is. It's going to be really flat, and we're also just going to have a super custom shape. Now we are bringing this whole thing back into Unreal, and we're going to use that same river body actor as our water, except this time we're going to turn off the button for affecting the landscape. You can have it just be driven by a spline and not affect anything, or you can have it affect the landscape, but we don't need that part anymore since we already did that in Houdini. And now we're going to move on to actually texturing the landscape, and the texture for the landscape is what's going to hold the grass object that we actually want to scatter on it as well. So we want these fields to feel super lush, so we're definitely going to need a good grass texture, and we're going to need it super thick. Now we're just really making a material for the landscape, and that's the last step. But this is honestly arguably the hardest one. The landscape grass scattering, it's complicated. I wandered my way around here for forever. Basically, just the way it works is you make a material. It really just makes 2 info channels, or you can have it make more. We have sand and grass, and it keeps track of where it's been painted, and it puts grass wherever the grass info channel lives. here I am just adding a mesh to this grass object that's going to interact with the landscape material. It's basically just holding a bunch of variables that tell it what size is the grass going to be, what rotation is it going to be, what mesh is it going to be, and just the overall density. Here we are in Unreal, seeing a little bit of that grass being scattered. We've got the entire landscape being covered in sand, and just one small patch of it being that grass material that actually has that grass being scattered on top. The grass does kind of look a lot darker than we want it. We are editing some of the values of the actual grass texture that's being used in the mesh. And it looks pretty weird in the editor, but it actually turns out being pretty good. And we get a nice, like, green, luscious looking grass. So we're on a pretty good track. That's all the time for this one. Hopefully in the next one we can get to adding some sidewalks, maybe planning out where some housing is going to be. We've already got that in our drawing, but we'll see if we need any terrain modifications or anything like that. It's kind of the beauty of a node-based setup. We can just add any of that whenever we get to it. But thanks for watching this one. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.